I want to try something a little uncomfortable to start today.
Uncomfortable how?
Well, I want you, and I am talking to you listening right now, to think about the last time you experienced nothing.
Wait, like literally nothing.
Absolute silence. No background music playing, no notification pings, no hum of the AC unit, just pure, unadulterated silence.
Wow, that's actually a really difficult question. I think for most of us, if we're honest, the answer might be never.
Right.
Or at least not in a really, really long time.
And that is exactly where we're heading today. We're doing a deep dive into a really evocative, slightly haunting piece of writing by an author named Tushar. It's titled The Mirror of Life.
And I really love this piece because it frames the world in a way that is incredibly intuitive but rarely spoken out loud.
Yeah.
It's about noise, yes, but it's about a specific kind of noise. Tushar sets out on this mission to connect two seemingly different worlds, the destruction of the environment outside our windows and the destruction of the peace inside our heads.
He draws a straight line between them.
A completely direct line. His premise is that these aren't two separate problems. They're actually the same problem, just happening in different dimensions.
Okay. Yeah.
She calls it the mirror effect. The idea is that our external reality, the cities, the deforestation, is just a reflection of our internal state.
So if the world is messy, it's because our minds are messy.
Exactly. And to fix one, you have to understand the other.
Let's start where Tushar starts. Before we get into our heads, let's look at the landscape. He paints a pretty specific picture of the modern world, and he uses a word that I think is really important here. Encroachment.
Encroached forests. That's the phrase.
Right. He doesn't say logging or development. He says encroachment. What's the distinction there for you?
Well, it's a powerful choice of words. I mean, development sounds organized. It maybe even sounds positive. Logging sounds industrial. But encroachment implies a violation.
It's a trespass.
Right, you encroach on someone's territory. And Tushar doubles down on this by defining forests in a very specific way. He doesn't call them resources or green spaces.
He calls the forest the home of animals.
Exactly.
I circled that part too. It immediately personalizes the whole thing. If you cut down a tree, that's one thing. If you invade a home, that's an act of aggression.
Precisely. It sets the stakes early on. He's arguing that we aren't just rearranging the furniture of a planet. We are invading a sovereign space.
Yeah.
And the visual he uses to represent this invasion is something we've all seen. He talks about tall buildings appearing in the most unexpected places.
Oh, I feel this. You know, you drive out to where the suburbs used to end, expecting to see fields or maybe some woods, and suddenly, boom, there's a 40-story condo complex just rising out of a cornfield.
It feels jarring, doesn't it?
It feels completely wrong, like a glitch in the simulation.
And that's what Tushar is pointing at. It's not just that buildings exist, it's the erratic nature of the expansion. It's the total lack of harmony. He says we are slowly destroying the nature. But, and this is the key insight for this section, he doesn't say nature is gone.
No. And this is the phrase that really stuck with me. I think this is the anchor of the whole piece, honestly. He says, the wilds are now passively coexisting with us.
Passively coexisting. Let's just sit with that for a minute.
Such a sad phrase.
It's devastatingly accurate. Think about the power dynamic in those words. If two things are coexisting, usually that implies a partnership, equals sharing a space.
Right.
But when you add the word passively, it changes everything.
It means they don't have a say.
It means they have lost their agency. The wild is no longer the dominant force on the planet. It has been pushed to the absolute margins. We see a coyote in a parking lot or a tree growing through a crack in the sidewalk.
Yeah, they're there, but they're only there because we haven't paved over them yet. They're existing on our terms, in our shadows.
It's like they're guests who've overstayed their welcome in their own house. They're just trying to stay out of the way of the tall buildings.
Exactly. We have turned the active, roaring, dangerous wild into a background texture for our human drama. We've basically domesticated the entire horizon. And Tushar's argument is that this isn't an accident. We did this. We pushed the wild into this passive state.
So we have this picture of the outer world. Concrete encroaching on the green. The wild reduced to a passive observer.
And this is where Tushar makes the pivot. He says, look at that world, and now look in the mirror.
It's the same in the inner world. That's the pivot.
Okay, but this is where I really need you to help me parse this, because the analogy gets a little tricky. If the forests are the peaceful corners of the mind, which is a beautiful image, by the way,
Yeah.
what are the tall buildings? What is the concrete?
This is where Tushar challenges our conventional wisdom. If I asked you what clutters your mind, you'd probably say worries, anxiety, maybe trash TV.
Sure. Negative stuff, usually.
But Tushar's list is completely different. He says we have encroached upon our mental peace with, quote, facts, knowledge, beliefs, and concepts.
Hold on. Facts and knowledge. But we're doing a deep dive right now. We are literally dispensing facts and knowledge. Isn't that a good thing? How can knowledge be the same as a concrete building destroying a forest?
It is a paradox, isn't it? But think about it in terms of space. Tushar isn't necessarily attacking the truth of the facts. He's attacking the volume and the rigidity of them. Think of your mind like a living room.
Okay, living room.
If you put a beautiful, high-quality, handcrafted chair in the living room, that's great, that's a fact, it's useful, it serves a purpose.
Right, I can sit in it.
Now imagine you filled a room with 300 beautiful, handcrafted chairs, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. You can't walk, you can't sit, you can't breathe. Are those chairs still good?
I know. At that point, they're just a hazard. The room is useless.
That is encroachment. Tushar is arguing that we have hoarded so much information, so many concepts, so many rigid beliefs, that we have paved over the peaceful corners where we could just be. We've turned our minds into storage units.
That's actually kind of terrifying because we celebrate that, don't we? We celebrate being well-informed. We celebrate having an opinion on absolutely everything.
We do. But Tushar groups beliefs and concepts in with those tall buildings. A belief is a rigid structure. It stands there, immovable. If your mental landscape is nothing but skyscrapers of this is right, that is wrong, this is how the world works, there is no wildness left.
There's no room for the unexpected.
There is no room for silence.
So we've essentially gentrified our own brains.
That is a fantastic way to put it. We've developed every square inch of our consciousness with data.
And just like we use bulldozers to clear the real forest, Tushar points out that we have a very specific tool for clearing the mental forest. And it's probably in your hand right now.
Each one of us is carrying a mobile phone.
The ultimate encroachment device.
It is. And Tushar is very specific about the mechanism here. He doesn't just say we use phones. He says scrolling on social media. It's that specific, repetitive action.
The scroll.
Yeah.
The infinite loop.
But look at the result he describes. This is what I found most insightful. He doesn't say we scroll until we are entertained. He doesn't say we scroll until we are informed. What is the outcome he identified?
He says, until we're exhausted.
Exhaustion.
Which feels true. But why? Why does moving my thumb 2 inches make me so exhausted?
Because it's the inner encroachment happening in real time. Every image, every headline, every hot take, that is another brick being laid in the mental skyscraper. You are processing data at a rate the human mind was never designed for. You're strip mining your own attention span.
It connects back to that storage unit analogy. If you keep shoving furniture into the room, eventually the floorboards start to groan. The structure itself just gets tired.
Exactly. It's a massive cognitive load issue. And this exhaustion leads to a shift in what we consider normal. Tushar points out that constant chatters and speech have become the norm.
Silence is weird now. If you sit in a room with a group of friends and nobody says anything for 30 seconds, someone panics and pulls out their phone to show a meme.
Right, we have pathologized silence. We treat it as awkward or boring or empty. Tushar says nobody wants self-reflection and silence.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Based on this text, why would we actively reject self-reflection?
Well, if we follow Tushar's logic, self-reflection requires space. You need a clearing in the forest to sit down and think. If we've built tall buildings of concepts and beliefs over every single inch of our mental landscape, self-reflection becomes impossible. There's literally nowhere to sit.
And maybe we're afraid that if we do clear a space, we won't like what we find.
Or we're just afraid of the silence itself, because we've become so accustomed to the noise, the constant chatter, that silence feels alien.
And here we come back to that haunting phrase Tushar used for the animals.
Mm-hmm.
He applies it to the mind now.
Silence now passively coexists in our life.
That hits hard. Silence is the endangered species inside our own heads.
It really is. It hasn't disappeared entirely. We still sleep. We still have moments in the shower, maybe. But it's passively coexisting. It's pushed to the margins. It's not an active participant in our day. We don't invite silence to the table. We only tolerate it when the battery dies or the Wi-Fi goes out.
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
That silence is just waiting in the corner, totally neglected.
It implies that silence is the natural state, just like the forest is the natural state of the land. But we have actively worked to suppress it.
So we have the outer encroachment, buildings replacing nature, and the inner encroachment, noise replacing peace. And this brings us to the grand conclusion, the mirror effect.
This is the thesis statement. Tushar writes, what we see in the external world is only a reflection of our inner world.
Okay, let's deeply connect these dots, because this flips the script entirely.
Yeah.
Usually we think the world makes us stressed, traffic is bad, so I'm angry. The news is scary, so I'm anxious. Tushar is saying it's the other way around.
He is suggesting that the physical world, the tall buildings, the destruction of nature, is a direct manifestation of our internal state. We build concrete jungles outside because we have concrete jungles inside.
So, our need to conquer nature, to build everywhere, to fill every silence, that comes from our inability to be quiet inside.
Exactly. Think about it. Why do we build tall buildings in unexpected places? Perhaps because we are driven by those facts, knowledge, beliefs, and concepts to constantly expand, to do more, to optimize, to control. We can't let the land just be because we can't let our minds just be.
We're uncomfortable with wildness. We're uncomfortable with the unplanned. So we pave the forest and we pave our minds with information.
And the exhaustion Tushar mentions, the exhaustion from scrolling, manifests in the world too. We are exhausting the planet just as we are exhausting our own neurotransmitters.
It's a massive feedback loop.
Yeah.
But Tushar puts the source squarely on the inner world. The encroachment starts inside.
Which is a profound realization, because it suggests that you can't fix the environmental crisis, the outer encroachment, without addressing the crisis of consciousness, the inner encroachment.
We can't save the forests until we save the silence in our heads.
That seems to be the implication. As long as our minds are cluttered, chaotic, and noisy, our world will continue to look cluttered, chaotic, and noisy. Yeah. We recreate ourselves in our environment.
That gives a whole new weight to the idea of putting down the phone. It's not just about a digital detox. It's about stopping the encroachment.
It's about reclaiming the territory, pushing back the tall buildings of concept and belief to let a little bit of wild silence grow back.
I love that. Rewilding the mind.
Yes. Moving silence from passive coexistence back to active existence.
So let's recap where we've been on this journey with Tushar today. We started with the physical world, the forest being encroached upon, animals losing their homes, and nature being forced into a passive role.
Then we looked inward. We saw how we've done the exact same thing to our minds. We've displaced peace and silence with a relentless influx of facts, beliefs, and digital noise, all driven by the tool in our pockets.
And we realize that this leads to exhaustion, a society where nobody wants self-reflection because there's simply no room for it.
And finally, the mirror. The realization that the concrete outside is just a symptom of the concrete inside.
It's a short text, but Tushar packs a lot of heavy lifting into those few paragraphs.
How?
The idea that silence is just passively coexisting with us is going to stick with me. It's sitting right there, isn't it? Just waiting for us to shut up for a minute.
It is. It's the background radiation of existence, completely obscured by the signal jamming of our daily lives.
So here's the provocative thought we want to leave you with today. We talked about the mirror. If Tushar is right, and the world is a reflection of your inner state, imagine you actually did the work. Imagine you cleared out the clutter, the facts, the constant scrolling for just one day.
If you stopped the inner encroachment, look out your window. What would change? If we all quieted our minds, would the tall buildings stop appearing in unexpected places? Would the forests actually come back?
Or at the very least, would we finally be able to hear them?
That's the real question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.